Welcome. These will be my thoughts on The Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 6. Always accountable. The episode is rated TVMA, so this video B. There will be spoilers for the episode and everything live action Walking Dead leading up to it. Another episode that I absolutely fucking loved. So before I get into it, I did want to mention, so I finally got around to rewatching the Whitney Avalon Princess rap battles, and I don't think I was... I think the last time I did was before I watched any of this show, because I certainly don't remember realizing before that Emily Kinney, who played Beth, did one. She was amazing in it, and yeah, just in general, if you haven't watched those, they're all really really fun, and yeah. It was very surreal seeing her with this kind of rap battle attitude after pretty much exclusively knowing her as Beth. Anyway, I think this is a good time to recommend another YouTube video, and since it is Women's History Month, I'm trying to make sure to recommend videos made by leftist women this time. And yeah, Leisha Miller's Jared Kushner's War is really, really excellent. And yeah, in the spirit of the month, I will start by focusing on the female characters of the episode. I really got to caring about both Tina and the other one. I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch her name. And God, after so much struggling to keep Tina alive, and then she ends up dead because of the But that's such is the world of The Walking Dead. And I really appreciated that the guy was like, he threatens to shoot Daryl if he keeps talking. But then when Daryl asks the two women a question, they actually explain everything, and then the guy does join in, And yeah, I mean, I've said it before, and to be clear, we're not engaging in biological essentialism here. That is complete and utter bullshit. What I'm talking about is socialization, and a lot of women are socialized to be better communicators than a lot of men. And I think that I appreciate all these little glimpses into their lives, the world they live in, and I think that is what I have for them. So that does bring us to Sasha, and I continue to really appreciate this. Sasha and Abraham talking to each other about, Death Wish. Not the movie series, but yeah, the and she actually managed to get him to a point where he realized, oh hey, yeah, I have been living like, because that's also, once we see him, the bit with the with him getting really close to a walker, that was genuinely like, literally, what the fuck are you doing? And by the end of it, he realizes before, or rather instead of getting bitten, because like that's what would have happened, at least the way he was behaving, and I quite like, she does, like, at first she says, there's the thing about, like, he says, he's basically asking if they can date, and she's like, what makes you think that I want that? And he's like, a guy can tell, which not always, but sometimes, sure. And then she says, well, you have some, you're a fixer-upper. And, really appreciate her knowing her worth and not being willing to be with, because right now he's kind of a fucking train wreck, but he is willing to work on himself. So, yeah, I think that is Yeah, right. I also really appreciate the way they contrasted, because like Abraham walks into the room and there's a walker, but it's behind glass. Also very nicely done that we weren't sure it was behind glass until it hit the glass. And then Sasha says it can't get out. And Abraham, instead of just asking follow-up questions, he has to check for himself. He can't quite just, yeah. And yeah, that thing of like, well, it can't get out. Why? Like what are you gonna do? You're gonna break the glass and then kill it, thus risking, you know, like there's literally no reason to. Clearly, they are not in danger there. Like at most, it's slightly annoying. You can imagine it probably makes falling asleep more difficult. They got a walker that so loud it keeps them up nights, but they are fine. And yeah, both of them making points about the other's self-destructive behavior. Very, very compelling. So that, yeah, let's get into the scene by scene. Very tense episode, and I am really loving the way this. So this season, it varies season by season, but so far, like, it hit the ground running and immediately set up this massive threat. And now we've gotten several episodes that don't get us that much further there, but does explore characters. And I'm on the edge of my seat. It's one of those things. It's so difficult to get this exactly right, and so far the show's nailing it. Of just like, we want more, but we're also enjoying getting this other stuff, because like I can hardly wait to see how I genuinely am not sure how it's going to be resolved. I don't know if they're going to have to leave behind Alexandria. I have no idea what the actual solution is going to be, but having all this, yeah. Um, my really only one criticism of this episode is that it felt a tiny bit like plot armory. The fact that I'm sorry, those cars are a little bit too close to Rick's survivors and shooting too many shots. Like, I don't know, maybe is the idea supposed to be that they're too over eager, just spending too much ammo, not taking care to aim properly. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It felt a little like someone realistically would have at the very least been grazed by a bullet or something. Oh, was that the? I didn't notice that he was Daryl was bleeding at one point. I don't know if that was a bullet or not, but yeah, that really was the only thing. And yeah, genuinely clever, this thing of like, yeah, they run into each other, and of course these three think that Daryl is one of the other. That was another thing. I wasn't entirely sure if these were wolves, because so far wolves don't seem to use guns. I didn't really. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. If I had to guess right now, I don't think they're wolves. I think they're just in an area close by. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure. But the idea that these other guys are hunting the three of them, and then the three of them mistake Daryl for one of them, makes perfect sense. And yeah, really, really intense when they're driving away from them, and the way that they manage to take out, holy shit, the part where they just unload on the, I think it's called the windshield, the front window of the car. And Daryl managing to sneak in through, yeah, obviously himself in danger of the walkers that he's driving in between. Yeah, I think that does get us to them finding him. And that's the thing, I really appreciate the way that they did not feel like they could trust Daryl. And at one point, the guy even says, you would say anything. And that's the thing, like, so many of the problems in the world, it's this small group of assholes fucking things up for the rest of us. And no, I'm not talking about, like, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a conservative at all. I'm talking about rich people, and I do not believe that they are inherently evil. They have a choice. They could spend their resources making the world a better place, but instead they're just taking care of themselves at the expense of the rest of us, and hoarding an absurd amount of wealth to the detriment of everyone and society itself. But yeah, there's also the part where I think, yeah, there's also the guy says something along the lines of, well, we used to think, people will take care of, we're all on the same sides, we'll fight the same problem, which, boy, does that feel relevant during Trump's second term, and you could also apply it to COVID, the whole, yeah. I really hope that in the future Republicans will not just try to turn everything into power grabs and make everything fucking political. Like they keep saying that, oh, the far left, people like me are, the ones who try to make everything about like identity politics and such. And meanwhile, yeah, I think that does. Right. I will also say, I think they did a good job on the thing with the RPGs, because like as soon as I saw it, I was like, Abraham, what the actual fuck? Like genuinely, what are you thinking? What do you think you're gonna need those things for? It's not enough to take out the massive amount that you've been dealing with this season. It's, overkill for dealing with regular groups. Like, yeah. Also, I have reached a point in my life where I cannot see someone, he does the thing where he takes a cigar and takes it in his mouth and like takes a little bite, and I forget if we did see him spit it out, but I'm thinking he's probably gonna spit out the little bit he bit. I can't see that and not think about Benny Hill spitting part of, the tip of a cigar onto the nose of a mobster. I guess that does pretty much bring us to the... Yeah, I appreciate the thing about, drawing or writing Dixon on one of the doors. And yeah, he does indeed find them later once he's gotten the vehicle. And I guess that might actually pretty much cover... Okay, I'm just real quick gonna fast forward the episode mentally. Let's see, was there anything else? Clever of Daryl to use, a little bit of distraction to get the guy to come closer, and he was not careful enough and got bit. And, they managed to cut the arm off, which I believe it was in time based on what we've seen earlier on the show. And he got to keep his watch, and everything. And yeah, I guess that does... Well, let's go. Right. Really loved that walker that we... I mean, yeah, we never did end up seeing its face, but pretty much just a fucking scorched skeleton. But there's also like what's it called? Like biker helmet on, and we do see a little movement and hear a little bit of, it's the noises they make. Creatures of the night, sweet noise they make. And I mean, obviously it is animatronic for the movement. There's no way that they like fucking buried some poor intern, up to their neck. And but that was a really... Yeah, I appreciate that concept, because like, okay, so It is indeed a fact that there are situations where a motorcycle helmet can save your life. You know, safety's important. And then there are situations where maybe that wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world if this poor sap had indeed not been wearing a safety helmet.